Hey soccer fans, Nick here with the Feed the Fire podcast, and today we are talking Chicago Fire and the Major League Soccer postseason. We're going to look at the matchup that the Fire have against Orlando City and a potential first round matchup against the Philadelphia Union. We'll take a look at some of the other matchups early on in the playoffs, and also, we'll conclude with a few headlines from around the league. New coach just got fired. Let's take a look at that at the end of the show. But for now, I want to remind everyone, if you want to interact with me, please email me, glasshousesoccer@gmail.com, or feel free to connect with me on social media at glasshousesoccer. Remember to get over to your local 7-Eleven, buy a few bottles of Skira Icelandic Spring Water, sponsor for our show. They take good care of me here. As well as, if you see me out at the match this Wednesday night, at SeatGeek Stadium in Bridgeview, please reach out, say hi. Always love connecting with fans. Always love talking soccer with everybody. But now let's get right into the heart of it here. The Chicago Fire take on Orlando City in the 8-9 seed play-in game, the wild card game, if you will. That's this Wednesday the 22nd, 7:30 Central kickoff. The other wild card play-in game is the Portland Timbers hosting Real Salt Lake. That kicks off after the Fire game around 9:30 Central time. That's being hosted by Portland. I kind of like Portland in that one, but it's a great Western Conference matchup, and it'll be exciting. Anyone who's not going to be out at the Fire game, make sure you're tuning into that one as well. But the reason we're here, the reason we're talking, is the Chicago Fire matchup against Orlando. And we've already seen a whole bunch of writing come out from MLS Soccer as well as every other outlet that's covering Major League Soccer. And I wanted to kick things off here with some words from Matt Doyle, the armchair analyst. He put out an article yesterday, Sunday the 19th, that breaks down all the playoff teams into one of four tiers. And if you've read Doyle at all, he doesn't like to rank. He likes to put teams in tiers. Not who's number one, who's number two, but who are the top four teams that can win the MLS Cup? Who are the next four teams that could win? Who are the dark horses? Who are the teams that, might have a chance? He likes to kind of break down these groupings. So his tier one group of teams that could win the MLS Cup is titled, "I Will Be Shocked If It's Not One of These Teams," in which he has Miami, Vancouver, Los Angeles FC, Nashville, and Seattle. His tier two group, he calls it "Prove Me Wrong." And so these are teams who are not favored in his mind, but you could make a case for it, I suppose. In his tier two group of teams to win MLS Cup, he's got the Union of Philadelphia, San Diego FC, FC Cincinnati, smaller group there. His tier three of who's going to win MLS Cup is, you can make a plausible case. So you can talk yourself into it. And the teams in that group are New York City, Columbus Crew, Minnesota United, Orlando City, and Charlotte FC. And then his tier four, prove me even more wrong. These are the teams that he doesn't think have a chance. There may be reasons why they can win games, and there may even be some reason that they could win MLS Cup. But if they're going to, they're really going to have to prove Doyle wrong, at least in his esteem. And in the tier four are the Chicago Fire, FC Dallas, Austin FC, Portland, Real Salt Lake. So those are his tiers, and I want to use his words to kind of preface what we're going into here in the wild card matchup on Wednesday. So Orlando City, Doyle says, at their very best, they've been so good this year. Martin Ojeda playing like a Landon Donovan MLS MVP candidate. Luis Muriel looking like a best 11 caliber playmaking number 9. Pedro Gallese turning the clock back 5 years. Eddie Atuesta and Cesar Araujo dominating central midfield. And Alex Freeman presenting an overlapping threat like few fullbacks in the entire world. I couldn't quite find an artful way to work Marko Pasalic into that verse, but he's been really good. 15 goals, 6 assists across all competitions. So, at their best, Doyle's saying if these guys are all playing at their best, they can beat the best teams in MLS. Here's his worry, though. We saw Orlando get to the semis of the League's Cup and collapse. first against Miami, who they previously dominated, and then somehow against the Galaxy in the third-place match with a spot in CONCACAF Champions League on the line. Araujo's been hurt most of the second half of the year. Now Robin Janssen is too. Gallese, after turning the clock back 5 years, has now pushed it forward 10 to 15. It's grim. Even if they were all healthy and playing well, though, here's the real bottleneck. Muriel has to be cooking for it all to work at a championship level, and he hasn't scored a goal in the last 2 months. Do you believe he can score, say, 6 over the next 2? That's about what it would take. So he's not giving Orlando City much of a chance to advance far in the playoffs, and definitely not much of a chance to appear and win MLS Cup. He doesn't speak about their matchup against the Chicago Fire, but let's take a look at his words about the Fire and see if we can kind of glean what his probable prediction would be. So here's what Matt Doyle says about the Fire. They've been one of the more fun and open attacking teams in MLS this season, capable of turning any game into the sort of up and down affair that can, in theory, suck even the most disciplined teams in. I'm not sure anybody in the league is as good at creating simultaneous attacking width and depth. Thank you, Andrew Gutman, Jonathan Dean, Marin Haile Selassie, Leo Barroso. You'd have to be ready to account for everything when facing the Chicago Fire. Now his worry. They played 21 games against playoff teams this year across all competitions. They won just 7 of them. It's been better down the stretch with wins against Minnesota, Columbus, and Miami. They really did break their playoff drought in style, but I'm putting more stock into the larger sample size. They have the worst defense in the East by the underlying numbers. That shouldn't be a surprise to any Chicago Fire fans who've been following the team. At the very least, just look at the goals allowed. And the third worst defense in the East by the actual numbers. I just don't think it's going to be good enough. So again, it's not like he's saying the Fire are going to lose to Orlando. He doesn't think that they have a shot at winning MLS Cup, if even appearing in MLS Cup. Now, the Chicago Fire could surprise. They could come out, play really well against Orlando City, and have a great series against the Philadelphia Union, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But from what Doyle is saying is that when the Chicago Fire play better teams, they don't win those games. And so that is going to be the bugaboo for him. However, we've seen the Fire turn up their intensity, their aggressiveness, their play. They have been able to find another level at times during the season, and hopefully the more recent sample size, even though Doyle calls it a small sample size, the more recent sample size is what's going to be the trend rather than the entirety of the season or the entirety of the matches against these better teams, these playoff teams. Now, the counterpoint to that is, yes, they've beaten Minnesota, Columbus, and Miami recently, but most recently drawing New England and Toronto. Those are tough results to swallow there for the Chicago Fire. But that's what Doyle's looking at. He's looking at least from the Fire perspective, they create depth, width, they have many attacking options. It's difficult for opposition to game plan against them, but they don't do well against better teams, against playoff teams. Now let's jump into this game and kind of look at a few things that could affect the play here, could affect this matchup at SeatGeek Stadium. So in Orlando's most recent match, in their final decision day game, they ended up losing 4-2 to Toronto FC. Now, Osorio had an early goal in the 7th minute. Mihailovic had goals in the 34th and 48th, and DeAndre Kerr put it out of reach in the 61st. Meanwhile, Orlando scoring, Bracalo has a goal in the 54th, and Duncan McGuire gets a consolation goal in stoppage time at the end of the match there. So that was kind of the flow of the game. It didn't look like Orlando was ever really in it. They knew they were in the playoffs, but they should have been going for it to improve their seeding and stay out of this play-in game. So how did they start this match? How did they line up? You had Pedro Gallese in goal. You had your center backs of Robert Schlegel as well as David Bracalo. Outside backs, Adrian Marin and Alexander Freeman. Across the midfield, this is a 4-4-2 formation. Across the midfield, left to right, Ivan Angulo, Eddie Atuesta, Kyle Smith, and Marco Pasalic, and their strikers up top, Martin Ojeda and Duncan McGuire. Now, at the end of the match, they did bring in Luis Muriel, Dagger Thorhalson, Colin Gusky, Cesar Araujo. Tyrese Spicer. They made a whole bunch of substitutions across the midfield to try and generate something offensively. So I'm hoping that that hangover continues into this Chicago Fire game. We'll see if they mix it up at all, if they want to go with, say, a Thorhalsen or an Araujo to start this match against the Chicago Fire. Now, if you want to look at the stats for this team, for this Orlando City team, and what may suggest over the course of a season who should be starting for them, you've got Martin Ojeda leading the team in goals scored with 16, and Marco Pasalic, 12 goals scored on the season for him. You also have Luis Muriel chipping in 9, Ramiro Enrique with 8, Alex Freeman with 6, so you can see him getting forward. I think that's going to be one of the telltale signs of how this game is going, is where are the outside backs for both teams? Where are the wing backs for both teams? Are Gutman and Dean up the field, or is Alexander Freeman up the field? Is he keeping them honest and keeping them in the Fire defensive half most of that game? Duncan McGuire, 3 goals on the season. Thorhalsen with 3. Araujo with 2. Bracalo, Rodriguez, Spicer, Janssen, all with 1. So clearly Duncan McGuire has regressed this season, but in a one-game playoff series, still as dangerous as ever, assuming that he's fully fit and has the full confidence of the staff behind him. If you want to look at your assist leaders on this team, again, it's Martin Ojeda. He's making everything go. He has accounted for 31 goal contributions for this team, 16 goals, 15 assists. And then it's the next guy, Luis Muriel, with 9 assists. So he's got 9 goals and 9 assists. Those are the top 2 players. Then you see the fall off in production. Angulo at Tuesta have 7 assists, no goals for either of them. Pasalic, 5 assists to go along with his 12 goals. Freeman, Araujo, Bracalo, Smith, all with 3 assists. And if you like the key passing statistic, again, it's Ojeda, Atuesta, Pasalic, Muriel. Those are their top guys there. Alex Freeman even, but Ojeda far and away. 101 key passes on the season. Atuesta's second best with 57. So it's Ojeda. If the Chicago Fire can keep him from having an average or good game, then the Chicago Fire exponentially increase their chances of winning this matchup against Orlando City. Now, we've seen Pedro Gallese definitely not playing up to his standards, definitely falling off as well. So if the Fire can get to him early, if the Fire can put shots up, whether they're on goal or not, just make him dance and move and get nervous a little bit, I think that will go a long way to securing a victory for the Fire. They've got to keep Gallese moving and active, and he'll eventually make a mistake, at least in my opinion. Looking back at the head-to-head matchups throughout this season, the Chicago Fire hosted Orlando back in May and played them to a 0-0 draw at Soldier Field. The next matchup didn't have to wait too long. It was the bookends of May. The first match in May and the last match in May, Chicago played Orlando. So they went down to Orlando at the end of May and came away with a 3-1 victory over the Lions down there, with goals from Zinkernagel in the 5th, Kuipers in the 31st and 32nd. Freeman pulled one back for Orlando in the 40th. So 4 goals in the first half. I'm hoping the Fire can get out to that start now that we are back at home, back at SeatGeek Stadium. Whether or not you consider that home, I'll leave that up to you. Let's take a quick look at the odds, though. Can we glean anything from Vegas? The Chicago Fire here, it's interesting that they have odds for a tie. I guess that's just a regulation tie. Right now, Chicago as the home team are at plus 100 odds. The tie, the draw, 275, so I guess that means it's going to penalty kicks. And the away team, Orlando City, is given the odds of plus 220. So it does look like the Fire are the favorites. It's even money for the Fire to win, and with Orlando City getting just about 2-1 odds here. What's interesting is the over/under on the goals. The line is set at 3.5, so they are expecting goals to be scored in this match. And I will say, if you know Major League Soccer and you're a savvy numbers guy and enjoy gambling, I still think there's that you can get ahead of these sports books a little bit. I still think that some of these Vegas odds makers aren't quite caught up with everything going on in Major League Soccer and how quickly things can turn. So I'm not brave enough to invest my money on this sort of thing, but so just something that's out there for you. Again, Chicago Fire, even money bet, definitely the home favorite there. So, what's my prediction on this one? Part of it is going to be who ends up starting for the Fire. We saw in their last match against New England how Berhalter stuck with Davila and Kwame as your starting midfielders. Kwame kind of taking over for Franco, allowing Gutierrez, Orahel, Pineda to start on the bench. Maybe he's saving their legs because he knows there's a quick turnaround. At least I hope that's the case, because Kwame and Jay did not cover themselves in glory in this match against New England on decision day. Now, we've seen Jay have great games and we've seen him have poor games. We've seen Kwame still try to struggle to fit in with the MLS style of play, physicality, as well as Greg Berhalter's scheme and system. So I'm hoping that Jay and Kwame were starting to give Guti and Orahel a bit of a break. We know that Berhalter has really liked using Jay Davila over the last couple months of the season, and yeah, he's had some good games, but people are noting that for every one good game he has two either neutral or poor games, 2 or 3, and that he's not that consistent. And when it comes to playoff time, you can't have a letdown. You have one letdown, you're eliminated. So I'm hoping we see Gutierrez and Orahel back in their starting positions. We saw that the storyline of the homegrowns delivering the Fire back to the postseason for the first time with that win over Miami. Again, it was Pineda to Gutierrez to Pineda to Reynolds to the back of the net for the 4th goal to put them ahead of Miami and get them into that playoff spot, or that postseason spot, depending if you want to call it a playoff, even though it's a play-in and wild card, all that sort of thing. It's all semantics. It's postseason. The Chicago Fire are enjoying themselves in it, and so are the fans. We're going to have a good time on Wednesday. So I would like to see Gutierrez and Orahel start, and I think that would give Fire a bit of an advantage. We see that Gutierrez does like to shoot. I think he will take those opportunities more so than Davila or Kwame. Even Orahel, last couple matches, you've seen him kind of push up just a little bit at times when he thinks he can get away with it, and rip a couple shots as well to either try and spark the offense or pull the defense out, keep the D and the goalkeeper honest there. So I think they bring just a little bit more from a pure offensive perspective, which I would like to see against Orlando. Though we know that Davila does a great job of dropping deeper than Gutierrez normally does, and then driving the ball forward. I think Gutierrez really liked being in the 3 midfield system, that 4-3-3, where he could stay a little higher up the field and get into the offensive zone a little quicker. Now, is he going to play a little differently under a 3-back system that we've seen the Fire playing? Yeah, probably, hopefully. Hopefully Berhalter's been coaching him up, and he's been showing it in training that he can do that. So it would be great to see him drop back and get that ball and then drive it forward, get into some of those passing lanes that we've seen him do in prior games on the defensive side of things, and then turn that into offense. And Spring, Bamba, Zinkernagel, Kuipers, the guys who I expect to be the starting 3 for the Fire, of course, barring any injury or anything like that. And with all of that being said, I kind of like history repeating itself. I like this 3-1 scoreline. I think the Fire advance past Orlando City 3-1 Wednesday night at SeatGeek Stadium, and that's where I'm going to leave that segment. Now, looking at some of the other games of the first round here, again, we already mentioned Portland and Salt Lake, but this Friday, the 24th, the Miami-Nashville series kicks off. Again, Miami, the 3 seed, Nashville, the 6 seed. I think Miami is the favorite. I would assume Miami is the favorite there, and they probably should be the favorite. They've got the Golden Boot winner and back-to-back MVP Leo Messi, plus a Miami fan base and a team that's built for trophies. However, Nashville has been a great foil to Miami over the course of the last couple seasons, so that could be the series to watch. That could turn this Eastern Conference playoff race on its head if Nashville takes a victory in Miami and then comes home and wins it in 2 games. That would be great to see. Sunday, October 26th, Philadelphia Union, the Supporter Shield winners. The Union will host the winner of the Fire and Orlando City this Sunday. And again, I'm assuming it's going to be the Chicago Fire. Don't have a lot of faith in the Fire overcoming a Philadelphia Union squad in a 3-game series, but hey, that's why they play it. And we're going to look at some results for that in just a minute. Vancouver takes on Dallas on Sunday. San Diego will then host the Western Conference wildcard winner, Portland or Salt Lake, on Sunday. Then Monday, we see Cincinnati and Columbus kick off in a Hell is Real derby for their first round of the playoffs. Minnesota also hosts Seattle on Monday the 27th, and Charlotte takes on New York City. Tuesday the 28th, LAFC hosts Austin on Wednesday the 29th, and then we get into some of the second games of these 3-game series the following week. And actually, yeah, that's it. So we'll see Saturday, November 1st is when those second games will be played, and assuming it's the Fire, that's when they'll host the Philadelphia Union in Game 2 of that best-of-3 series. So that's, if you're a Fire fan, you've got our game Tuesday night, Wednesday. Our game Wednesday the 22nd. Yes, I heard that come out of my mouth. It's a little late. A long day at work. Sorry. Wednesday the 22nd will be the first game, and then Sunday the 26th will be that game at Philadelphia, and then home again the following week, Saturday, November 1st, hosting the Union. Fingers crossed. Don't want to jinx it here. Now, looking at the Chicago Fire versus Philadelphia Union, looking just a little bit ahead. This year, the Union have defeated the Fire in both matchups. On August 23rd, it was a 4-0 victory in Philly, and then on June 25th, it was a 1-0 victory here in Chicago. Last season, the Fire actually got the better of the Union, winning the home game 4-3 and then drawing at Philly 2-2. In 2023, the Union got the better of the Fire. They drew in Chicago and won in Philly. So it's been fairly balanced, I want to say, from a results perspective. And overall, the Fire have won 11 games in the series. The Union have won 16 games in the series, and they've drawn 9 games between them. So it seems to be a fairly even matchup when you look at a results standpoint, and I hope that trend swings just a little bit more to the Fire over the next couple weeks. But we have seen how good Philadelphia has been and how hard they are to play against, especially at Philly. Now, they don't have much of a playoff history, so maybe this inexperience from them will come into play. But for a team that has won the Supporter Shield and has been so consistent over the course of the regular season, I don't know if that's going to affect them at all. So we will hopefully be previewing that after Wednesday, looking ahead to the Chicago Fire taking on the Philadelphia Union in the first round. But let's get through Orlando City first. Got to stay focused, right? As Berhalter said in his press conference today, they're preparing for it just like they prepare for every game. The consistency helps the players be comfortable and perform better, and they know what to expect. They're not trying to do anything different because it's a short week and a playoff game. Obviously, you will have to do some of your preparing a little differently because it's a short week, but they're keeping as much consistency as possible. So let's hope it pays off for them. All right, just looking at a few headlines from around the league. I already referenced it earlier. Messi ended up winning the Golden Boot. He had a hat trick on decision day, 29 goals to lead the league. He also added 19 assists, so no reason why he's not the MVP here based on numbers alone, let alone everything else he has done for this Miami team and the league. Yeah. Bouanga came in second, 24 goals. Sam Surridge in Nashville also had 24 goals as well. So I don't know who ended up with the tiebreaker on that one as far as the assists go. And that's all there was to see. So looking back at some of the past Golden Boot winners, it was Messi with 29 this year, Benteke with 23 last year, Bouanga with 20 the year before. So if you look historically, you know, if you're scoring in the mid-20s, you've got a really good shot at winning the Golden Boot, unless your 2018 Joseph Martinez with 31 or 2019 Carlos Vela with 34. That was an incredible output of goals by both of those players. Prior to 2005, so from 96 to 2004, there was a point-based system for it. If I recall, you were getting points for goals and assists, and second assists even, I think. And so the winner with the most points in that era was John Stern. I'm sorry, no, not John Stern. He came in second as far as all-time points for the Golden Boot. It was Roy Lassiter back in the inaugural season, 58 points, and John Stern had 57 with Columbus, Mamadou Diallo with 56 for Tampa Bay. So those are your kind of early on stars there winning the Golden Boot. Some coaching news that I teased at the beginning of the show. Atlanta United have parted ways with Ronny Deila. And here's the quote from CEO and President Garth Lagerwey. It was evident that our standard of play was not met this season, and together with our senior leadership team, we have decided that it was in Atlanta United's best interest to move the team in a different direction. Ultimately, we owe our fans a much better on-field product, and it's our unwavering commitment to provide that to this community as soon as possible. So, yeah, they clearly did not meet their standards, which are to make the playoffs and win some playoff games. Atlanta United, after that amazing expansion year and trophy season in 2018, they just haven't been able to recreate it. You know, it was the perfect mix of an expansion team catching the league off guard, Tata Martino as the coach, Joseph Martinez, Miguel Almiron, and all the players that went around there with them just did so much. And they've had a coaching carousel. Since Tata, they've had Frank de Boer, Gabriel Heinze, Gonzalo Pineda, and now Ronny Deila. So that is quite the number of head coaches for a club to have in their short history. So hopefully we will see Atlanta United back making good decisions, hiring good coaching, and being competitive in this league again. I think there are some rumors that they want to talk to Jim Curtin, but I don't know. I haven't seen any sort of confirmation of any of that. And just to wrap up, Deila is not the first coach to be let go this season. First this offseason, we saw Laurent Courtois be let go from Montreal. Kansas City finally let go of Peter Vermees. St. Louis City sacked Olaf Melberg. DC let go of Troy Lesesne. The New England Revolution terminated Caleb Porter, and now Ronny Deila is out. The only team to have named an incoming head coach, DC United, has named Renee Weiler as their next coach. All the other ones are either operating under an interim basis or just are looking. So that's the news around the league. That's the news as we get ready for the MLS Cup playoffs. Again, thank you so much for listening. Please like, subscribe, rate, review, share the show. Let's continue to grow this conversation around the Chicago Fire, around Major League Soccer, and soccer in America. I'll see you Wednesday at the Geek. Let's go Fire.